Thank you all for joining the Weidel training webinar today on using ZipForms Plus. For those of you I haven't met, my name is Amanda Stem and I'm the new Operations Manager here at Weidel Real Estate. I'm very excited to be here and I look forward to meeting you all. Should you need to contact me regarding this webinar or anything else, my email address is astem, A-S-T-E-M, @weidel.com. The purpose of today's webinar is to provide an overview of using ZipForms to complete transaction paperwork, to connect to SkySlope, and to send the paperwork out to the various parties for signatures. If at any time you would like more in-depth training on using ZipForms, you can always click Help to view the online training calendar, as well as a library of how-to videos that you can watch on any number of topics. Let's walk through creating a new transaction. Under the Transaction tab, to create a new transaction, you need to click New, and it will open the screen where you can name the transaction. We'll start by doing a listing transaction. So we'll name it the street name of the property. If you happen to be doing a buyer contract, you may want to use the buyer's name, as the property could change depending on the acceptance of your offer. You need to select a transaction type. In this case, we're going to do a listing, and a property type. This will be residential. Now you're going to want to apply a paperwork template, and these are templates that we have already prepared as global Weidel templates that include all the paperwork you would need for a listing, in this case in New Jersey. Once you save the transaction, it will open it up with all the paperwork already in place. If you were to need to add any additional paperwork, you can add it from this menu on the right-hand side here. Anything that's highlighted is already included in our package, so we won't have to add that. And since we probably have all the forms we need, and possibly even more than what we need, you may end up deleting some of them. Say if the lead paint disclosure isn't applicable, or short sale addendum, rider to new construction, these things might not be applicable to every single transaction. But anything you could possibly need is already going to be there in the template. We can close that additional library because we don't need to add anything else at this time. Now the first form that you want to fill out when you start a new transaction is always going to be the transaction cover sheet. Which is usually going to be the first form in your template. This form includes all the basic information about the property, and it's going to auto-populate to all the rest of the forms that go throughout. So a lot of the information that you would have to type over and over again, the seller's name, the buyer's name, your information, you're only going to have to put that in one place in this transaction cover sheet. The more information you fill out here, the less that you'll have to do as you go out and complete the rest of your paperwork. Now, since we're just doing a mock transaction, we're not going to fill out every bit of the information. We're going to just sort of fill out the bare minimum, but I can show you how it auto-populates to the other forms. Okay, so now that we have some of the basic information filled out on the transaction cover sheet, we're going to go ahead and save that. And then we can take a look at some of the paperwork in the package by going back, looking at the folder, and then you'll be able to see that some of the information is already going to be filled out, and you're not going to have to repeat the same information over and over and over again. There are things that you will have to go in and complete, such as on your listing agreement, you're going to have to add your list price, your list date, the expiration date, all the specific information to that form. But the basic information on the transaction that's the same throughout is all going to be covered on this cover sheet. Now, the other thing that's good to note is now the Weidel specific forms that before you had to fill out manually are now all fillable on ZipForms. So all the information is there and it will auto-populate just like any of the other forms. Now at this point you have the option to do a couple of things with the paperwork once you complete it. You can simply print it out and have a hard copy, or from here you can also send it directly to your client in the form of a PDF. In that case, if you needed to get signatures on it, they would have to print it out and send it back to you in some way. But this works just like your regular email will work. You can choose to have all the paperwork sent so you can see exactly what your clients get by copying yourself. And you can select which attachments and which pieces of the paperwork you want to include in that email. You then have the option of sending either separate PDF files or having it sent as one single PDF that will print all together and they only need to open one PDF to view it. You can add a message and send it right from ZipForms. Now the other option you have is hooking this up directly to SkySlope. So if you go into SkySlope and look at working documents, from here you click on the ZipForms tab. Now if you haven't already gone in and enabled ZipForms to share with SkySlope, you have to initially enable that. So you're going to need to click Enable, you'll enter your username and password, and then click on Save. Then the next time you go into SkySlope, click on the working documents and select ZipForms. Any of your transactions that you've created in ZipForms will appear here. Now you're not able to alter any of the forms or make any revisions to them from SkySlope. However, any changes that you make in ZipForms, if you go right back to ZipForms, make any of the changes that you want to make, they instantly upload to SkySlope. So as soon as you go back to use the documents in SkySlope, any changes that you've made will be here. From here, you're able to send out any or all of the documents for electronic signing. You select whichever of the documents that you would like to have signed, and then you click on DigiSign. From this screen on the right-hand side, you have the option to change the order of the documents, should it matter to you what order you want them to appear in. And then you click Next. This brings you to your recipients and signing sheet. Each recipient that has to sign a document is going to have a unique email address. So if you have a couple that is listing a property and they each need to sign the documents, they're each going to have a separate email address in order to be able to electronically sign the document. So any of the people that you've entered in your transaction cover sheet are going to show up in this recipients section here, and then you can choose which of them you would like to sign the documents. If you have a preference for who you need to sign the documents first, you can add signer groups. and then you can just drag and drop different signers so that a group would sign first before it's ever sent to the second group for their signatures. From here you click Next, and now you're going to have to add signature, initials, and possibly dates on all the paperwork that you've selected to be signed. So in order to add a signature, you click on the signature button and then click on the place in the document where you want it to appear. You do need to adjust it a little bit. It doesn't go exactly in the right spot, so you do have to drag and drop it into the right spot. And this drop-down box allows you to change who the signer is for this particular placement. And any place you click, that signature will come up. You add the date, and that will show you the date that will show up depending on whose signature it is. And you can add any other alternate signatures as well. Once you've added all the necessary signatures, you're able to hit the Send button. And the message box comes up just like a regular email address. And once you've added your message, you're able to click Send for signature. Now, since I've added myself as a signer, and you will in a lot of cases too need to sign the documents that you're sending out for signatures, I added myself to be the first signer. So it gives me the option to sign right now. So you're going to get to see what your clients will see when they receive the email to sign the documents. They'll be able to choose a signature, agree to the terms of use, and then go directly to the document where they'll hit Start. They have the opportunity then to scroll through and review the documents and read them, but as you hit the Next button, it's going to take you to each of the places in the document that need to be signed. Since there was only one place in the paperwork we've chosen here for my signature, as soon as I click it, the Submit button comes up. From here you click on Submit, and this is going to bring you to the screen in SkySlope where you can see when people have signed and what things you have sent out for signatures. So here we can see everything that I've sent out for signatures and who has signed them and who are waiting to have signed them. Once it's completed and all the parties sign them, it will show up here in the complete envelope. So hopefully that gives you a basic overview of how to set up a new transaction in ZipForms Plus, as well as how to bring it over to SkySlope and get it electronically signed. Thank you so much for joining the webinar today, and I look forward to meeting you all soon.